Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Casino Business Podcast. I've got a very special guest today, Anthony Vallo, founder and CEO of Vallo Media. Anthony, thanks so much for being on.
My pleasure, Craig. Great to be here.
So I get like a million cold emails. It sounds like I get all these subject lines that are like, I apologize in advance for increasing revenue. Talk to our media agencies. There's so many of these media agencies out there, but I want to talk to you. I thought was really interesting is that you're really focused and doubling down on the casino marketing space. And in fact, you've got a great story with Resorts World Las Vegas, where you partnered with them and you really helped drive some incredible results. So maybe you could talk a little bit about your experience with Resorts World Las Vegas.
Oh, absolutely. And just to clarify, so we work with Resorts World East. So we handle all of their East Coast properties. So Resorts World New York City. We also handle the Hudson Valley, Catskills location, as well as Bahamas. So down in Bimini, they have a casino down there as well.
Oh, I love that one in Bimini. And you know what? Yeah, when you sent it over, I don't know why I just put in Las Vegas, maybe because I was just there a couple months ago. But yeah, Resorts World. Perfect. Yeah, please talk about that. I love that Bimini location. I heard the Catskills one is great. But yeah, go ahead. Tell us about your experience. And if there's anything I left out, because I didn't really talk much about Vallo Media, but maybe you talk about when you founded that and then get into your story about Resorts World.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll give you some quick background. So I founded Vallo Media in 2020. I had come from the big agency world. So I was working at big holdcos, Ketchum, WPP, Omnicom, some of those guys, working across a lot of different industries, built the paid media practice from the ground up over the better part of 6 years. And in 2020, COVID hit, right? Position got eliminated as a couple of mergers had gone through. And I said, I'm just ready to start my own thing. And so ultimately, I started Vallo Media. I had a client on the side at the time, and I noticed a big gap in the marketplace. We saw that there was just so much inefficiency in the big agency world, and they would cost so much and so little would get done. And it was just crazy to me. I'm like, how could we do this better, faster, and for less, while being a true partner to our clients, right? And so that's the spirit in which Vallo Media was born. And through some agency partners that I had over the years, we ended up actually working on the Resorts World business way back in 2021. And it's just been a tremendous growth story. It's been actually, I attribute a lot of it just through an incredibly collaborative relationship with the client and just immersing ourselves in the hospitality and the gaming industry. What I found is that the industry as a whole really, really good at loyalty programs and the guest experience, maybe a little bit behind when it came to digital marketing, at least in the casinos that we've worked with. And so when we took over a lot of the accounts, we're talking now paid media, paid digital media. So paid search, paid social, programmatic ads, OTA websites like Expedia, TripAdvisor, things of that nature. We just saw a lot of inefficiencies. And so, part of this story was how can we drastically improve the performance of their digital marketing campaigns? And more importantly, how are we tying this to actual revenue and in the casino? And so over the last 4 years or so, it's just been a really tremendous success story. All the digital marketing metrics have been improved tenfold, whether it's cost per clicks coming down, acquisition costs coming down, or cost per conversion going down, and then also seeing the impact to the business. And I think that was the most exciting, was seeing just the revenue, the gaming revenue, the occupancy rates going up, seeing more engagement, seeing more people coming to the casino. And we could dig into all of this and how we're actually tracking real-time casino visitors as a result of exposure to one of our digital ad campaigns. So a lot of exciting tech we brought to bear as well.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, we got a lot of casino marketers that listen to this podcast, and I think they're probably wondering, okay, what are some steps that you implemented that they can go implement on their paid advertising?
Yeah, so it's a great question, right? So as I mentioned, the first thing that we noticed was poorly structured campaigns and a lack of proper tracking. And so this led to really big inefficiencies. And so the first thing that we did was we restructured the paid media channels and we implemented accurate conversion tracking so that we could launch data-driven strategies, because your campaigns are only as good as your data, right? And if you're feeding these platforms, the Meta ads, the Google ads, if you're feeding it bad data or incorrect data, the campaigns are not going to be as successful as they can be. And actually, you could waste a lot of money. And I've seen this across a lot of different clients, right? So I'm not singling out resorts or anything like that. But and so as soon as we we corrected some of these inefficiencies, we created a proper ads funnel. And this means looking at it from the perspective of awareness, consideration, and conversion campaigns. And so for awareness campaigns, leveraging like programmatic and YouTube ads. For consideration, looking at Google ads, Bing ads, and Meta ads, as well as retargeting. And those are the same platforms that we leverage for conversions as well. So a lot of clients, a lot of brands and casinos perhaps will run conversion campaigns, and they'll optimize towards hotel bookings or casino visitations or some type of website action, because again, we're looking at this strictly through the digital lens for the time being, and the measurement is really just not in place, and the audiences are not in place. Because when we're running awareness campaigns, it's not just to generate awareness. We want to build what's called warm audiences, right? And I think that's a big piece that people miss. And then also there's a lot of technical know-how that goes into that. And so we would audit tons of client campaigns where we noticed they're like, oh yeah, we're retargeting audiences, we're building these warm audiences. We're like, well, actually your retargeting campaigns, they're reaching all new audiences. This is not set up right. Like, so they think that they're running retargeting campaigns and they're really not. And so you're missing out on a huge opportunity to re-engage those warm audiences, right? And getting a little bit more into the weeds, we broke up the paid media campaigns, particularly SEM, by 4 different key areas. So one is initiative, right? Maybe people
Real quick, just pause, just for folks that aren't familiar with that acronym, SEM being search engine marketing, and that'd be like the Google, the Bing.
Yes,
okay,
exactly. Yep. So SEM. Sorry, there's a lot of jargon and acronyms in digital, right? So SEM, search engine marketing, paid Google ads, paid Bing ads. With those types, typically, brands and casinos are used to, branded campaigns and unbranded campaigns. A branded campaign means, hey, someone's searching for your brand name and we want our ad to show up. Don't put a huge emphasis on those with paid search, because you're showing up for your brand name organically anyway. So you shouldn't be spending a ton of your budget. Yes, you do want to own the brand terms for sure, but you don't want to have a huge portion of your budget allocated towards branded terms. And then secondly, people would think in terms of unbranded campaigns, right? But we go a little bit deeper. And so we've actually broken up paid search campaigns by initiative. And so this could include hotel campaigns, casino campaigns, competitors, branded. That's number one. Number two, we'll break it out further by geography. So this could be radius targeting, for example, 10, 15-mile radius around the hotel if you're looking for, or casino rather, if you're looking for a locals crowd, but also targeting DMAs, nationwide and worldwide campaigns. Because these geos, what we did was we actually noticed through the website analytics that people were coming to the site from these other regions, even though a casino might say, oh, we know where our audience is. They're coming from here, or they're coming from there, or it's a locals crowd, whatever it may be. We actually let the data tell us and say, we dug into the website analytics and said, well, actually, it looks like you have people coming to the website from, these cities across the country, and they're looking to travel here. And so, we ran tests. We run little tests to say, okay, well, let's run a paid search test reaching people in this area. Let's see what it gets us. And the results were great. And so then we can then say, all right, let's actually make this into its own campaign and let it run every month. And so geo is that second. The third is by ad type. And I think this is where a lot of casino brands might be missing some opportunity. So most casinos, most brands and digital managers are familiar with search campaigns, which is just text ads that you see in Google. Maybe they're familiar with display campaigns as well, what Google calls demand gen, display ads, retargeting ads, that type of thing. You can run display programmatically as well. But then Google also offers performance max ads, what's called PMax. So that's a brand new ad type, well, not brand new, but relatively new in the last year or two. And those campaigns are a new AI type of ad that have shown really, really strong results. Now, I know there's a whole camp of people in the industry that's like, bad, PMax is bad, AI, like you lose control. But there's a way to do it with custom scripts that actually gives you more control. And we've just seen really, really tremendous results with PMax.
So explain what so PMax is on the SEM side, or it's on, because, okay, so going back just to recap where we've gone so far, we talked awareness and consideration so far in the funnel. So awareness would be people just know about your brand. Here in Dallas, I think the two casinos that are Choctaw and WinStar in Oklahoma, and they're battling for the Dallas market, and there's awareness everywhere because they spend all the money sponsoring the Cowboys, sponsoring the Mavericks, billboards everywhere. So everybody's aware of those two. Then consideration is where, okay, I'm aware of these brands. What am I actually going to convert into or consider? And that's where search engine is like, if somebody's searching for a term, they're at the stage where they're really considering making a jump. And so you talked about that. And then PMAX is an AI driven an ad that's at the consideration stage. So go from there, like tell us exactly what PMAX ads are and how could we identify if we've even seen one? Like what do they look like if I'm scrolling on the internet?
Yep, exactly. So PMAX is, as you mentioned, an AI ad type. It looks like a native ad, which, just so we're familiar with those, it's a combination of an image, a headline, and a description. So it's kind of like taking a search ad like one level further, but the algorithm is determining which combination it's going to show a user at any given time. So there could literally be thousands of combinations. So what we do is we'll actually feed the PMAX campaign setup wizard a series of images, let's say 12 images per campaign. We'll also feed it a series of headlines, let's say, 15 to 20 headlines, and then the same for descriptions. So the algorithm will then pair those images with those various headlines and descriptions, and they'll mix and match them, like I said, 1,000 different ways. And the benefit of that is it's finding the exact combination that's going to drive your desired result at any given moment in time. And so it's leveraging the machine learning, the AI, all that, to determine what that ultimate combination looks like, and also the placement. So that's really key, because when you look at Google ads, they don't just show up in Google. They're on YouTube, they show up in Gmail, they show up on websites that have Google ad code in them. And so PMAX, what's unique about it is it's going to show up ubiquitously across all of those different placement types, as opposed to search, which is strictly Google, or if you're running a YouTube ad, strictly YouTube. Same with, you could select placement types for your display ads and Gmail and etc. But the PMAX is going to be placement agnostic. And a lot of brands don't like that. They want to know where their ads are going to show up, right? So there is that balancing act that you have to establish.
And then going back to early, when we started talking about your approach and how you achieve such success with your casino clients, you mentioned bad data. A lot of casinos are feeding in bad data, and I assume that PMAX needs good data to know which ads to feed the right people and make their algorithm smarter. Maybe you talk about, like, drill in on what is bad data. Like, what were you seeing? What are probably some common mistakes that casino marketers may be doing with the data they're feeding in? How do they correct that?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we've seen is a lot of these paid media accounts they can flood the brand casino website with junk traffic because there's not proper conversion tracking in place. And so now we're moving from consideration to conversion here a little bit, right? So bringing us back to the kind of funnel approach, right? And so when we're talking about optimization of digital campaigns, specifically for casinos, right, you have to set the right type of conversion action. So here's a couple examples. It could be someone coming to the site and clicking on the casino page. Okay, that button click, that's a conversion action. We want to optimize our campaigns for people that are going to go visit that page. That's, very, very basic. Another one might be what we call behavioral conversion. So we want somebody that's coming to the website from one of our ads to spend more than a minute on the website. Because what happened is when we audited a lot of casino brand campaigns, we saw that they were celebrating, oh, look how low our cost per click is. Our CTR is really strong. I'm like, yeah, but every single person is leaving the website after 2 seconds. So we're getting all this traffic, but it's probably bots, And so, like, having that tracking in place is so important, because we're not after a quantity of users per se, we're after quality. And we're willing to pay a little higher cost per click if we can really hone in on these quality audiences, because they're real people. And they're also people that are interested in coming to the casino because they've either been primed through our awareness campaigns, they've shown high intent by specifically searching for a casino near me, or they're looking for a casino in Dallas, or they're looking for the brand name specifically. And so we want to capture those higher intent audiences, and we want to make sure that we're optimizing the campaigns, sending that signal to Google and saying, or Facebook or whatever it may be, and say, hey, we want more users like this. This person comes to the website, he spends a minute on the website, he's clicking through to the casino page, he's getting directions on how to get there. And those are actions that you not only want to track, but you want to optimize towards, because that's the data that you're feeding back to these digital ad platforms. And that's the data that they need to then say, okay, I'm going to find more users like this, and I'm going to not send those low quality users, which again, in many instances might just be bots and spam.
Got it. Thanks for explaining that. So we have a use case. I want to explain something that happened with UR Comp that we discovered, and I'd love to hear kind of your approach, how you think through this. So we we spend a good amount on Meta ads, and we do some in Google ads. But what was funny is we were tracking conversion rates on our website with just, all right, how much we spend on Meta ads, and how many conversions are we getting, and then what's $1 per conversion. And for us, we're not a physical place, so it's easier for us to track. Okay, yep. They signed up, they went through our funnel. But what was interesting is we're like, you know what? I'm not sure if this ROI is worth it. So let's cut Facebook ads for a month, or maybe it was a couple weeks. What was funny is that there were all these signups that dropped off that we didn't know were coming from Facebook. But like, when we stopped spending, the organic, the direct traffic, a lot of that fell off. And what we kind of figured out is that a lot of people might see an ad, whether it's a Google ad, they might see a Facebook ad, and they don't click the link, but then they open up another tab, and then they go to your website, and then they convert. And so we've obviously, like, we went back to spending money because we're like, okay, there's a good we can't tell how many of these direct website visitors saw our ad versus heard it from a friend. But how do you think through that, or how do you tell that to casinos that, hey, there's going to be some that won't have that source code or whatever, but they're definitely coming from these ads you're spending money on?
Yeah, that's a great point. And it's so interesting that you guys had that experience, because it's really true, right? And this comes down to the fundamental question of marketing, which is attribution. And just think about, how you search as a consumer. How many times do I see an ad and then I go to Google and then look up the brand, or start reading reviews on Reddit about it before I go to Amazon and buy it? Facebook is not getting the credit for that purchase, right? And it's the same thing with a casino, and any brand that's advertising on digital. So there's a huge influence that these campaigns have, even though it's not directly attributable in the data, because like you said, people are seeing it. They might even be clicking on it, and then they might be opening it in another tab. They might be coming back to it later when they're home on their computer. They might be, physically, visiting a casino, something to that effect. And attribution is tough. It's not a perfect science. There is no right way. And so I feel like in many ways, what's old is new. Like, marketing kind of went really, really hard down this performance track for the last decade or so. And now it's starting to be like, okay, actually, we need to be investing more in the brand, because there is a huge impact that the brand campaigns have downstream in terms of actually driving users to take the desired action, or driving a customer or a guest through your door of a casino. And something cool that we've done is location tracking, actually. Again, not a perfect science, but there are ways using different platforms and tools to attribute physical visits to a casino location after exposure to a digital ad. And it's just simply done through a device ID on somebody's phone. They're exposed to a programmatic ad. And then we set a 30-day look back window to where, hey, did this person actually physically walk into one of our properties within that 30-day window after having seen one of our ads? So there are, really cool ways that we can take tracking to that level too.
That's really cool. Is that only valid on people that have an Android, or what kind of limitations are there to that sort of tracking?
Yeah, as long as they've opted into location tracking on their device, which many people do automatically when they accept the terms and conditions on their iPhone or their Android, as long as they have a smartphone of some kind and they bring it with them when they go to visit the casino, which most people do, then for the most part, yes, we can track them. And yes, some people maybe opted out of that and something. So, but what's interesting is we actually ran several tests, and there is a real correlation. So as soon as we turned off the programmatic ads, we saw a huge dip in people that were coming to the casino as a result of this measurement.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So ad creatives, you talked about PMax and how you can just throw, a bunch of different combinations, and it will kind of tell you what's working best, or maybe what's working best with different types of demographics. Maybe talk through either, like, when you're thinking through creative or working with the casino on creative, what's kind of your process for working with them on figuring out the right creative to be in 2025? What's the best way to do this?
Yeah, so I think we have a really collaborative relationship with our casino clients, and many of them have in-house creative teams, but we provide them with what I would call like the creative plan. Like, hey, here's the number of assets that we recommend. Here's the sizes. Here's the types. Here's the campaigns that we want to run. Of course, we know that in the casino industry, offers are changing. There's, different giveaways, there's monthly promotions, there's always, some type of loyalty program or reward for signing up, gaming bonuses, exclusive events. So there is just really a lot of opportunity to get creative, right? And I think one of the key takeaways that we've seen in our work in the space is don't just take your digital banner ads and then retool them for social. Really, really put the time and energy into making social first creative, right? Because what's working on social is a lot different than what you see, with other display or digital placements. And also run A/B tests, because the insights that you can gather from A/B tests is really, really vital and important, because the industry moves so fast. So you should be running ad experiments every month, especially when it comes to creative content. And of course, the basics apply. Use vibrant visuals. Dynamic video content does really well. Create videos for social that are the story format. Right. I think, investing the time and money to create those specific placement types have shown just really, really great results. And also HTML5. So if you're running banner ads, whether through retargeting or programmatic, if you can run HTML5 files, those are like your animated banners as opposed to static, we see those perform really well. When it comes to messaging, definitely giveaways do really well, right? And so whether it's like a car giveaway, a big jackpot, whatever it may be, we find that those definitely drive people to the casino month after month. And so keeping those fresh, keeping those relevant and timely. And at the same time, we also are running offers, right? There's a new member offer. Sign up for the loyalty program, get $100 free to bet with, something like that. The messaging itself, we find aspirational messaging works really well. That reflects the casino experience, the excitement, the fun, and personalization really, really works wonders in gaming. So I'll give you a quick example.
Yeah.
Speak to the specific players that you want to attract. For example, high rollers, you might say something like, step into the ultimate VIP experience with exclusive perks that are tailored just for you. That targets players that are seeking luxury, exclusivity, those higher stakes experiences. As opposed to like slot enthusiasts, you might want to say something like, unlock bigger wins and better rewards every time you play, right? It appeals more to that casual gamer, focused on the fun, the value, and the immediate gratification. And for the most part, when we're talking about creative as well, making sure you have regular refreshes. So something like Google Ads tends to get ignored. Like social, yes, you're swapping creatives like maybe every single month. But on Google, people just, and brands tend to, and agencies specifically, will tend to just set it and forget it. But we found that updating your Google Ads copy at least every 6 months is definitely worthwhile. And specifically, around Google Ads and Bing Ads copy, search ads now we're talking about, making sure your ad copy matches the search term. We see just so much better performance when if somebody goes into Google and types in a very specific search term, and you can look at that through the ads platform data, making sure your ad copy includes that keyword, includes that phrase that person is typing in, because that's going to you're going to see your CTRs go through the roof when you do that. And it's going to lower your acquisition costs. It's going to lower your cost per click. It's going to improve your ad quality score, which has a ton of other benefits too, because it's going to give you more presence in the auction. It's going to give your ads a higher placement if you have a better quality score. And then lastly, leverage extensions. So if you're a digital marketer, maybe you know maybe your listeners know what this is. Within Google, there's all kinds of extensions that you can add to your search ads. They have image extensions, they have sublink extensions, they have trademark extensions, and that's all included free. So those, always make sure your extensions are filled in, because that's going to give you more real estate on the search engine results page. It's just going to make your ad pop. It's going to make it bigger, and you're going to take up more space than your competitors.
Now, one thing that was interesting, that was all interesting. One thing you touched on was different creative, different copy for a high roller versus a slot player versus someone else. Do you find it best to just put all the ads out there and then the algorithm will determine who's the high roller and put it in front of them? Or are you setting up certain audiences, configuring the demographics to try to put the high roller in front of people that are high net worth or something? So how do you set up the demographics, or what kind of work do you do behind the scenes to make sure those creatives pop and get the most mileage?
Absolutely. Yeah. You want to structure your audiences. So what we usually do is we'll create different audience segments for different campaigns, and then we'll have actually multiple segments within any given campaign. And then we'll let it run. And typically we'll make tweaks after, a week or two of data to just make sure, hey, which audience is actually performing better than the other. So yes, to your point, you can segment by household income, by, their interest. Is someone interested in slots? Are they more interested in playing poker with live dealers? And being able to build those audiences is really important because you want your ads shown to the right person at the right time. And it really comes down to just testing. So testing multiple audiences, leveraging first-party data. And this is tricky because you want to be really careful with your customer data, but leveraging that data to build lookalike audiences or to just target your existing known customer list through some of these ads platforms, really powerful way to engage your, VIPs or your high rollers or, people that you really want to focus on with some of these exclusive creative messaging.
Now, speaking of messaging, I mentioned earlier, we run a lot of ads, and we're in the player acquisition business as well. And we found different platforms can be sensitive about the copy we use. So it'll be like, flagged, gambling related, and we'll have to reword things. So how do you work with casinos to make sure that their ads aren't being flagged or suppressed, and that they're able to be displayed on the platforms?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's something that we're, balancing every single day, right? And so having a good relationship with the platform reps has been really helpful. And also any internal compliance teams, right? So you want to make sure your campaigns are meeting the regulatory standards. You want to streamline any ad rejections. So having a direct line into an account team at Google or a meta rep, which again, not always easy to get a hold of these folks. But to the best that you can, it depends on your spend level as well. But it does help them streamline any ad rejections. You also want to make sure that you adhere to age restrictions and geo-targeting restrictions to avoid reaching any of those audiences that shouldn't be seeing your ads. And then also make sure you include responsible gaming messages in your ads to comply with any ethical advertising practices. So we always make sure that those messages are visible alongside our regular ads. This is especially important in Google with PMax because again, you're letting the algorithm determine what your ad looks like. So what you do is you could actually pin those messages to make sure that, hey, this one will always show up with the ad, which is that responsible gaming message. And then just be careful around the keywords that you use: casino, betting, gambling, right? A lot of these systems and platforms are using AI to flag ads that maybe reference certain keywords. So you just have to be careful with that. It is, of course, a very regulated category in the digital advertising world. But with Google and with other platforms, you can be what's called whitelisted. So if you are a legitimate casino and you're operating a physical location, you'll have that special category. Now, your ads are not going to appear everywhere. There will be some restrictions on the account, but it does get you the ability to run these ads without being flagged.
Well, Anthony, I know you're busy running your growing media empire, and I really appreciate the time so far. As we wrap up, are there any other golden nuggets you want to leave? Because I think we're definitely going to do a part two. I've got so many more questions I want to ask you. I want to be respectful of your time. But yeah, any other golden nuggets you want to leave for casino marketers that they can take and implement at their properties?
Of course. Yeah. So just to kind of recap everything that we spoke about, right? Using that advanced audience targeting to make sure your campaigns are reaching the right people, eliminate wasted spend with proper tracking and proper data analysis, do an audit of your paid channels and make sure that when you're running retargeting campaigns that you're actually reaching those retargeting audiences and not new audiences, and make sure you have proper attribution, because that's where a lot of things get messed up. Is if the data pipes are not connected correctly and you're not sending those right signals back, the campaigns end up not performing to the best that they can. And then finally, adopt a test and learn approach, stay agile to optimize your results, and don't overload your strategy, right? Sometimes keeping it simple really is the best approach. And sometimes that's just more effective than overly complex structures, right? And so, within a particular campaign, you want to be able to make good decisions, and you have to have a setup and you have to have the right tracking in place that allows for that.
Well, Anthony, I learned a ton. I think everybody listening is going to learn a lot from this. If anybody wants to get a hold of you, learn more about Vallo Media, or maybe ask some questions as a follow-up to this conversation, how can they get a hold of you?
Yep. So they could visit our website, vallomedia.com. That's VALLO. Or they could just follow me on LinkedIn. So I'm always posting content about digital marketing and performance optimization. So would love to connect.
Anthony, thank you again for coming on the Casino Business Podcast. Like I said, I would love to do a part 2 in the future, because I think we're going to get a lot of great questions coming in. So Anthony, thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Craig. Looking forward to it.